Hey guys, Matt Cerino here from Team Stomping Grounds. Along with me is
John Parsons.
And we just wrapped up our game, so we're going to tell you a little about the game.
So, can we start with who won, guys?
So, I did in a very weird kind of we didn't play the game type game. So, by definition, I won.
I forgot to measure line breaker. I just assumed I had it and did not run my Fate Weaver. And when the game ended, I was like, "Oh, I got this!" And we measured line breaker, and I had this look on my face.
Yeah.
Didn't measure, and Matt rightfully won the game.
So Matt, what was your most valuable unit in the entire matchup?
Nothing really did that much because we kind of just spent a lot of time dancing around each other. My one grav unit was able to take out his Black Mace, Cast Space Marine Demon Prince by itself, but I had another grav unit there to support it, so it really didn't matter. Other than that, the Rune Priests were kind of nice, to kind of create a bubble that he had to stay off to the board edges, but in the same sense, wasn't able to do much with it. So honestly, nothing too much. The Thunderfire was really nice on turn one, be able to clean up some troops, but past that, not really too much.
Yeah. And John, what do you think about your army? What pulled the most weight for you?
Well, it was the Helldrake. I mean, I came in, I vector struck, killed the unit, went back, I burned the Grey Hunters, which was going to be an issue, flew off the table, vector strike another Squirrel unit, almost killed it, and it actually did finish it off. And then finally, on the last turn, I came in and I shot another unit off the game. So, I mean, it killed half his army by itself.
Yeah, that thing was, I mean, is there really any answer to it, to be honest?
It actually got you every single kill point that you got, every single point you got.
It's well worth, how many points is it?
I had a little bit of help from vector strike.
170, taking a half the army? Yeah, John, what do you think was your best play? If you really had to point to one thing that happened in the game, what do you think it would be?
Well, I think my turn 5 movement was key. I played for the game to end on turn 5, but I also planned on it going to 6. I mean, I threw the portal glyph, and I think where I positioned it, if you looked, I made it so that if I scattered in 2 directions, I was going to hit the board edge, and it was still enough range for a demonette for if I got one demonette to move and to run and to land on the objective, which is key because I mean plague bearers don't have range, horrors don't have range, and the demonettes have fleet, and fleet is huge to get that objective. So like I said, I played for the turn 5 win, but I also made preparations for turn 6.
And how about you, Matt?
Turn 2, kind of running everything back. I scouted everything up and got in to put as much hurting as I could, and then going to turn 2, I charged just enough to kill off the Plague Bearers, the Demonettes, and the Cultists, and then everything else ran for the hills, expecting Demon Princes and Helldrakes, especially on my grav. I moved on my grav back, and I left all my basic bikers, because at the end of the day, if they die, they're not quite as valuable, so kind of running in anticipation for what was going to come on turn 2.
Is that kind of what the idea was that swung the whole direction of the game? You kind of come in, take out what you can, and then kind of try and get away as fast as you can?
Yeah, it was a lot of this kind of cat and mouse, who's going to not... It was really who could do the least was who won the game. It's who could do the most running. And unfortunately, I had to start chasing because the Demon Prince were too big of a problem, and that's kind of what cost me. Is my command squad just kind of ran around the middle for a while, doing pretty much nothing, and that's half my army, point-wise, doing almost nothing.
Is that kind of what you wanted to do, John? Is that kind of how you wanted to drive the flow of the game?
Well, so when deployment came, and I knew that I was going first, I had 2 options. I could either deploy all my princes on the table and hope I seized, because then I could control the flow of the game by having nothing on the table except for a 2+ rerollable Fate Weaver, which could die. It's happened, but the odds are very much in my favor that it doesn't. Now, or the second option I could have done is give up all my troops and my Mace Prince. Now, the Mace Prince is really good, but in the grand scheme of things, the Mace Prince doesn't have range with flicker fire or anything, and he's the cheapest prince I have. So I pretty much conceded the fact that, well, he's not going to table me because I don't take morale checks on my demon princes, and I can save my Fate Weaver reroll for my cultists for their morale check, which is what I did. Thankfully I didn't need it. So turn 1 came around, he pretty much wiped me. I mean, I had 2 plague bearers left, 3 demonettes left, and I think I had like 5 cultists left. That was enough because turn 2 he's not going to table me. So I pretty much knew after that, I measured everything so that he couldn't get in range. If you noticed when I moved, I measured everything out of range of his grav guns, and I just kind of skirted the board edge.
you did have 5 reserve rolls for turn 2. Had you managed to fail all 5 reserve rolls, you actually did lose the game.
You're right. I did lose the game on that, and that's a risk. But that's a risk I have to take with that army.
Yeah.
So it could happen.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree.
Yeah, is that kind of where you thought the whole thing was decided? Like the real turning point of the game was kind of when you got the first Demon Prince off the table and everything, and you go to yourself, well, okay, from here I know I'm not going to lose immediately. Like, where do you think the game was decided for that?
The real turning point for me when I felt I had a very good, I could control the rest of the game and force him to react to whatever I did, was at the beginning of turn 3 we roll for reserves. Now I had 3 princes, I had 2 princes and a Fate Weaver, or I'm sorry, 2 princes and a Lord of Change on the board that were ready to fly off. I roll my Fate Weaver, roll a 1. Now that I know Fate Weaver's not coming on, I roll my Helldrake. Helldrake comes on, I'm like, okay, so I can Grimoire my Helldrake, fly everything else off, and all I have is a Helldrake with 3+ symbol. Now I can control the flow of the game. So for me, that was what the turning point was.
Exactly. Do you agree, Matt?
I think the turning point of the game was the Portaglyph actually making a troop. I was able to kill all of his troops by turn 2. He threw the Portaglyph. The Portaglyph did scatter, but still gave enough room for the Demon to get back. Had he failed to produce a unit with the Portaglyph, he would have lost on primary, being objectives. I still had the one in the back corner on my side. Then the other big thing was, like, obviously, as John said at the beginning, he forgot to run to get Linebreaker. In the same sense, I forgot the turbo boost to get Linebreaker. My thought at the time was to be able to protect my command squad so it had range, but I could always just have turbo boosted to tell one guy to hang his butt in, like to get completely in the Linebreaker, and then have the rest of the units still be arranged to do something. So we both kind of made that same mistake of neglecting Linebreaker. But I think the biggest thing was the Portaglyph actually making a model. Had it not, wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, primary.
So with that being said, neither one of you guys actually got Linebreaker when it mattered in the mission. Besides Linebreaker, could you have played the mission any better, Matt?
The mission itself, no. I think I did the right thing. I kind of ran my bikes. I kept myself in position, especially the game ended on 5, but my bike unit was in the back, and by the area terrain had the opportunity to jump out and to be able to get to with a turbo boost on turn 6 any of the 4 objectives. I could have done a slightly better job on my backfield objective with the Lord of Change came and contested with bubbling it a little bit more. The problem is with only having 5-man bike units, it's really hard for me to be able to do it. And the reason I kept behind the ridge lines because it actually negated some of the shooting he could have done. So I kind of played that way, thinking to use the ridge line to protect me. I probably would have been better off bubbling the objective, but I didn't have quite enough move to do the entire bubble, so it probably wouldn't have mattered in the end.
And how about you, Joe?
So that's kind of a different question for me to answer, because towards the end of the game, I was reacting a lot to what Matt was doing. So, based on what Matt did was what I made my moves. Had Matt changed things, I would have reacted differently. But based on what he did, turn 5, obviously, how it was. If I would have ran, I would have won. That said, I was in a good position for 6. I mean, that was the biggest mistake right there. That cost me the game, and it was, I had nobody's fault but my own. All I had to do was measure, and I would have had it. So there's no excuse there. But had the game gone on, I think we had to roll, and and this army is very luck dependent. I was in as best of a position as I could have been to try to make it, to give myself the best chance I could have to win the game, and that's the best thing I can say.
So John, we already know what your biggest mistake is because you just told us not running for Linebreaker. Matt, what was your biggest mistake in the game? Like the thing that you really kicked yourself over?
I had 2 simultaneous ones. One being not turbo boosting. So my mistake was actually Miss John. And yeah, John's gonna say that him running cost him the game, but had I not turbo boosted, it wouldn't have actually mattered. True. The other one was, so going into the matchup, my feeling was, and I normally play drop pod wolves, so I'm used to that idea of I really want to go first and get that alpha strike. So going into the matchup, I really told myself I want to go first because it's Dawn of War, so he really, I can put the command squad right in the middle. The only way he can hide from is going in both the corners, and you saw as I deployed, I had grav guns going both directions, so we couldn't hide from grav turn 1. Thinking about it a little bit more is, being kind of the fast bike army, I want that ability to kind of jump out in the last turn and contest objectives and have a little more control over the strategy of the game. So hindsight would have actually rather given him turn 1. Sure, he's going to get all of his, he's going to get, it's going to let him get psychic powers off, it's going to let him get Grim, it's going to let him fly off who he wants and have a little more, he'll let him play his game more, but in the same sense, I think by what I can do if I go first or I go second is line all my bikes along the back edge or keep them in reserve and outflank them, and then pretty much go with the idea of here's my command squad. You don't beat my command squad in combat, so pretty much I would play instead of me making him react to my game, I would react to his. I would just play his game. I would roll my command squad out and say, fine, fight this. And with hit and run, and I wound up getting, I had my 4-up invuln save, I had precog. I could pretty much just sit there and not lose that battle and let my troops outplay his troops, which is what I should have done. So that was my big mistake, was not picking turns in combat, especially because I had to choose. So I should have given him top of turn.
Yeah, it totally feels like you guys both, you found what you did. You can learn from it every single game. That's why we play these games. That's why we have these battle reports, not only so we can have you guys grow as players, but also the people who can watch them as well. Is there anything you guys want to say to anyone who's watching them, other than probably remember Linebreaker?
Yeah, look, read the mission. I preach it all the time, and then of course I kick myself out and do it myself. Reading the mission is always very important. Other than that, one of the big turning points John did was he was able to utilize terrain in the corner and had his demon at time behind it, so I didn't have enough movement to get around past it to charge someone off the objective. So remember to use terrain, like it's there for a reason. Use it to your advantage. Other than that, no, I think just this type of game where had we played again, I think we both learned a ton from it, so it would be a much better game.
Yeah.
So now that everything's wrapped up with this battle report, and it's probably going to be our last Nova battle report for a while, because I know we all just spent the time waiting through the queue for Adepticon. You guys looking forward to start testing for Adepticon?
I am. It's going to be different. I mean, I love the Nova format. I like having kind of the set terrain. I like having the set missions, and I've memorized at this point. It'll be nice to test for something different. Just to start playing games outside of that convention of, we're doing the exact same thing every time. As much as it's good and it works, it's going to be nice to kind of just mix it up a little bit for our own, lack of being bored of it.
My biggest thing for looking forward to Adepticon is the terrain. I think the fact that we know Nova terrain, we can almost map out games. Like I'm sure Matt was doing it. We both were mapping out turns almost 1-2 turns in advance because we're just so used to the terrain. The Adepticon, there's a lot of shenanigans you can do. There's a lot of things you can utilize. It's a completely different game. And frankly, we both love Nova format, but it'll be nice just playing a different style of 40k. Change is always good.
Exactly.
That's great, guys. The last thing is, Matt, in particular for you, because I know you just got the team Space Marine Bike Army together. Are you probably going to end up just playing that? And it looks really good. Where was it? Where did you guys get it done by and all that?
It was great. It was painted by one of our team members, Dave Robinson, who owns and is the painter from Warhammer Hub. Went down to 11th Company GT, got best Space Marine player, 4th overall, 4th in battle points. The Army scored 96 out of 100, and frankly, the reason you get 100 is I didn't bring a display board with us because of space in our car. So the Army is beautiful, as you guys can see from the Army preview. You should check out his website, Wargamer Hub. It's really nice. Like the weathering on the Marines is really nice. We did a lot of custom work with green stuff, so it was really cool.
And how about you, John? What are you probably going to play?
I love this Demon Army. It is the most fun I've had playing 40k in a long time. This army is so tactically enjoyable for me. Now, obviously, some people can say, I don't necessarily play the game, and they're right. But for me, it opens up so much planning, and you have to play it perfectly, and you can't make any mistakes or you lose. And to me, it's just a joy to play. I have fun losing with this army. I mean, that's just how much I enjoy it. So I will most likely be taking this game to Adepticon. I'm not gonna lie, I almost enjoy losing with this army. It's not that, because all the games are super close. They're all within a dice roll. So.
All right. Well, thank you guys for coming out and playing the game. Well, not you, Matt. You're always at the store. Yeah. But thanks for coming out, John, to play the game. And we're going to be having some more battle reports coming out shortly.
Yep. Thanks, guys.